Okay, picture this. A city planner is in full-blown panic mode. The drawings for a huge new shopping mall are just gone, and his career-defining meeting is just a few days away. So he sits down, closes his eyes, and 10 minutes later, boom, he knows exactly where they are, in a restaurant miles away from a dinner he had last week. How on earth did he do that? Well, he used a technique from a 40-hour course that claimed it could unlock the hidden powers of his mind. So let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to look at the surprisingly humble beginnings of the Silva method. Then, we'll dive into the science, or the theory anyway, behind the alpha brainwave state. From there, we'll get into the really practical stuff, the techniques you can actually use. After that, we'll explore some of the most extraordinary claims of the method. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the powerful core message at the heart of the whole thing.
So where did this all come from? You might be thinking some fancy university lab or a spiritual retreat in the mountains, right? Nope. It all started with the curiosity of a self-taught radio repairman from Laredo, Texas.
And that story about the city planner, that's just one of thousands. There's another one about a graduate frantically tearing his house apart, looking for a lost plane ticket. He finally just stops, goes to what the method calls his level, and gets this crystal clear picture of the ticket wedged between some books in a closet. He runs to the closet, and there it is. See, the idea here is that this isn't just luck. It's a skill you can actually learn. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we've all been there, struggling to remember a name or where we put our keys. The Silva method's whole premise is that those memories aren't actually gone. They're just inaccessible. And the solution it offers is learning how to consciously slip into a different level of your own mind to go get them. Now, this was not some overnight discovery. This was the life's work of one man, Jose Silva. It all kicked off back in 1944 when he got totally fascinated by these strange psychological questions they were asking Army recruits. That curiosity sparked 2 solid decades of self-funded research, using his own kids as his first test subjects, by the way, which eventually led to the standard 40-hour course we know today. Okay, so what is the secret? What's the engine behind all this? Well, the entire method is built on a really simple idea. Your brain operates on different frequencies, kind of like a radio, and each frequency unlocks a different set of abilities. And the key to the whole kingdom is the alpha state. This is what the method calls your inner consciousness. We're talking about a brainwave frequency between 7 and 14 cycles per second. It's that state of deep relaxation where your mind is supposedly way more receptive, creative, and powerful. So let's break this down. Most of our day we're in beta. That's our outer consciousness. It's logical, it's alert, it's our get stuff done mode. Alpha, on the other hand, is your inner consciousness. That's the state you're in when you're daydreaming, or in those hazy moments right before you fall asleep or just after you wake up. It's all about imagination. The trick, the whole point of the training, is to learn how to enter that alpha state whenever you want, while staying completely awake and in control. So how do you actually do it? How do you get to this alpha state on purpose? Well, it all begins with a simple foundational exercise. The very first technique they teach is surprisingly simple. The best time to practice is right when you wake up. You keep your eyes closed and you just angle them slightly upward, about 20 degrees. For whatever reason, this physical act helps your brain produce alpha waves. Then you just slowly count backward from 100 to 1. And the exit is just as important. You count up from 1 to 5 and tell yourself you'll be wide awake and feeling better than before. It's all about teaching your brain that you are in control of this state. And here's the crucial part. This isn't just about chilling out. Silva called this dynamic meditation. The whole point of getting into the alpha state is so you can actively start using it to solve real-world problems and achieve your goals. It's not about emptying your mind, it's about programming it. So here's the process. On your mental screen, you first create a vivid image of the problem just as it is right now. Then in your mind, you slide that picture off to the right, that's the past. And from the left, the future. You bring in a new image of the problem actively being solved. Finally, you slide that one away too and bring in a new scene where you vividly experience the final successful outcome. You don't just see it, you feel it, like it's already happened. Now, once you get good at entering the alpha state, you can create a kind of mental shortcut. It's called the 3 fingers technique, and it's basically a physical trigger. While you're in meditation, you just tell yourself over and over that whenever you touch these 3 fingers together, you'll instantly go back to this deep level of mind. Graduates use it for everything, recalling facts during a test, staying calm in a stressful meeting. It's like an anchor to that focus state. But the method doesn't stop with memory and problem solving. This is where we venture into the really wild territory, with claims about developing psychic abilities and even having a direct influence on your own health. Silva had his own term for it: effective sensory projection. In the advanced course, things get pretty out there. You learn to create a mental laboratory in your mind, complete with a couple of imaginary counselors. From inside this mental lab, you practice projecting your awareness to, say, examine someone far away and diagnose their health issues, reporting on things you would have no normal way of knowing. Now, this idea of mind over body wasn't just Silva's. A radiation oncologist named Dr. O. Carl Simonton, who actually trained in the Silva method, did a famous study. He took 152 patients with so-called incurable cancer and added visualization techniques to their therapy. He found this amazing correlation. Among the patients who had the best response to treatment, this number, 20, had something incredible in common. Every single one of them had a deeply positive attitude and actively visualized their body winning the fight against the disease. And listen, this wasn't some fringe idea even back then. As far back as 1959, the president of the American Cancer Society himself was saying this. He was publicly hoping that science would start looking seriously at the mind's power to influence disease. It just goes to show you there's been this long-standing sense that our mental state and our physical health are deeply, deeply connected. So after all of these techniques and all these pretty extraordinary claims, what's the big takeaway? What's the real legacy of Jose Silva's decades of research? Well, to get a sense of the impact, just look at this number. By the late 1970s, before his main book even hit the shelves, over 500,000 people had graduated from the 40-hour course. What started with one guy's curiosity in a small Texas town had become a global phenomenon, reaching all 50 states, dozens of countries, and attracting everyone from artists and students to CEOs and celebrities. And this quote, this really gets to the absolute heart of Silva's whole philosophy. Whenever a graduate would come up to him and thank him for changing their life, he'd always say the same thing. He never saw himself as some guru with special powers. He was just a teacher with a method. He believed the real power wasn't in him, and it wasn't even in the course. It was already there, dormant, inside every single one of us. So in the end, the Silva method really just leaves us with one big question. Beyond all the noise and chatter of our everyday minds, what hidden potential is just sitting there, waiting in the quieter, more imaginative frequencies of our own consciousness? What could you solve, or create, or become if you just learned how to tune in?